Okay, we're starting from Vav Amud Beis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines from the bottom. Bishub Kar Chaimer. You see it?
Yeah.
Rabbi Shub Kar Chaimer. Rabbi Shub Kar says, "Manayin l'talmud sheishu f'nei rabbi v'roz chas la'ani v'chayv l'asher. Manayin shlo yishtak shlo yishtak." Let's say you have a Talmud. How do you know that there's a Talmud who's sitting in front of his Rebbe? So he's not the person who's being the dayan. His Rebbe is. But he sees that his Rebbe saw a chus for the ani, or his Rebbe did not see a chus for the ani or a chayva for the asher. Manayin shlo yishtak. How do you know he's not allowed to be quiet? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, the sugurum of Yish. Don't be afraid from any person. And what does it mean? Rav Chanan says that this means don't bring your words in. Don't hold yourself back because of a person. Eidim should know in front of whom they are saying they're testifying. They're testifying in front of Hashem. It's as if they're testifying about Hashem. Because the Gemara is going to say later on tomorrow's daf that you're being matriach the Rabban Shalom in your edus to return the money to its owner. We'll see that in Mitzvah Hashem. And before who they're saying edus, which is the Rabban Shalom, and who's going to learn from them if they lie? The two people who have the fight, they stand in front of Hashem. So you see that the Eidim need to be aware of that. The Yanim should know the same thing. Who are they judging? And in front of that's also like they're judging Hashem. And in front of who they're judging, and who's going to collect from them, punish them if they judge incorrectly. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, Elokim nitza ba'adasel. Hashem, right. And you find this possible by Yeshafat also. It says, he said to the judges, look what you're doing, because you're not doing this for people, you're doing this for Hashem. So maybe the dayan will say, what do I need this whole headache for? I'm going to get an einish if I make a mistake. It's not kedai. Right. Hashem says, I am with you with a dvar mishpat.
Help you passing correctly.
What was that?
Help you passing correctly.
Right. Right. And once you do the correct kindness, you ask him correctly, you won't get punishment. And the dayan only has, he shouldn't hold himself back, he shouldn't be afraid, because he has Mashayin of Rice, he has what he sees in front of him to figure out the true judgment of what's going on.
Yes. He can only judge what he sees, more than that he can't do.
Right. The Gemara before said that when you have a Gemar Din, you don't do a Pshara anymore, according to some Tanam. What's called Gemar Din? Rav Yehuda said the name of Rav, Ish Panyata Chayiv, Ish Panyata Zakah. When the Bezdin says, Yankol, you're Chayiv, Beryl, you're Pater. Rav said that looks like Rabbi Shub Karcha. Rabbi Shub Karcha said before, not the Rabbi Shub Karcha that we just said, but the Rabbi Shub Karcha that said before, mitzvah of tzaya. It's a mitzvah to make a pshara. So Rav is saying, Rav is saying Rav is saying that the looks like Rav Shub Karcha, they make a pshara. In fact, the Gemara 80, it's not so. Rav Huna Tamid Rav. Rav Huna was the Talmud of Rav. Rav Huna, when two people came in front of Rav Huna for a din Torah, who he told them, what do
you want?
Yeah, which one do you want? In fact, the Gemara. So you see he was giving them a choice. He wasn't saying let's do a pshara. If it's a mitzvah, you should do a pshara. Gemara says no. My mitzvah nami dekamar Rabbi Shimon Karcha. What does it mean that there's a mitzvah that Rabbi Shimon Karcha says that the mitzvah? It means mitzvah l'memruhu idin avisu pshara visu. It's the mitzvah to say to them that do you want a din or do you want a pshara? That's the shayla you're supposed to ask litigants right at the beginning of the din Torah. In fact, the Gemara Tanakama. So now Rabbi Shimon Karcha, who's giving a choice, is saying the same thing as the Tanakama. All the way at the beginning of the brayso that the Gemara brought before, said that on the bottom of Vav Amud Aleph, the brayso said, "Kishem shadin b'shleisha kach pitzur b'shleisha." So you see, he's also saying that you do pshara, just nigmar din yeter rashal of tzai. You don't do it once there's a Gemar din, but before Gemar din you do it. So it's the same thing as Rabbi Shimon Karcha, who also says that you do a bitzur, you do a pshara before Gemar din. And for the Gemara, mitzvah. The shaila isn't a mitzvah. In other words, according to Rabbi Shimon Karcha, you should, as soon as the litigants come in, the Baalei Dinim come in, you should say to them right away, do you want a din, do you want a pshara? According to Tanakama, you don't really have to say it to them. It's just that if you want to do it before the Gemara din, you still can. If Rabbi Shimon Karcha savar mitzvah, Rabbi Shimon Karcha says it's a mitzvah. Tanakama savar rishus, and Tanakama holds it's a rishus. In fact, the Gemara hainu Rabbi Shimon ben Menasya. So now you say we had Rabbi Shimon ben Menasya on Vavam Beis about 3/4 of the way down. He said Shnaim shabo lefanecha ledin before you hear their words, or even after you hear their words. As long as you don't know which way the din is naita, you can tell them go and make a pshara. So now again, you're saying that it's the same thing that's a rishus. If you want, you can tell them. And for the Gemara, this is in other words kasha between the Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon ben Menasya, because according to Rabbi Shimon Karcha, it's a mitzvah. So the Gemara says when you heard what they said and you know which way you're leaning, then you can't tell them anymore. Go out and make a pshara. That's according to Rabbi Shimon ben Menasya. The Tanakama holds, as long as you didn't do the Gemara din, even if you're already pretty sure that you're going to paskin like Yankel and not like Beryl, then you still could do it. Zak the Gemara. Way back when we brought down a pasuk, and the Gemara brought down a bunch of pshatim and what that means. Rab Tanchum Bar Chanilai argues with all the pshatim we said until now.
That pasuk we're in, is it Mishlei?
That pasuk is in Tehillim Yud.
What?
Tehillim Parak Yud, Capital Yud. Pasuk says, "Ki hilal rasha al tavas nafshe ve'etzei berich niyetz Hashem." So Rab Tanchum Bar Chanilai says a new pshat in this pasuk. What does he say? Shnemar. Dabar Rab Tanchum Bar Chanilai says, "Leinemar mikrazel keneged ma'aseh egel." This pasuk was said about the ma'aseh egel. What was the ma'aseh egel? Shnemar, the pasuk says, Aaron saw, even mizbeach lefanam, and he built the mizbeach in front of him. Mara, what did he see? What did Yaakov see? What did Aaron see that decided that he said, I better go and make a mizbeach for these people who want to serve Avodah Zarah? No, Rabbi Yambar Yafas, I'm Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Yambar Yafas says the name Rabbi Lazar. Ra chur shezavuach lefanav. The lashon of vayiven mizbeach, it's Vayiven means we're darshaning his lashon of Havana. He understood. Mizbeach, he saw that chur was shechted. That they killed chur. So Amr, he said, if I don't listen to them, hashta now, if Avduli, they're going to do to me, could Avdul B'chor, like they did by Chor, and I am a Navi, and I am a Kayin, and Mekayim be, and will be Mekayim in me, the Pasuk, which is later on, Yaharag b'Mikdash Hashem Kayin v'Navi, that lasted by the Mikdash Hashem, by Zechariah, the Kayin and Navi will be destroyed, and that was what was Geirim to the Galus, the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the Churban Beis Rishain. They have the Takanta Lailam, and they're not going to have a Takana, they're not going to be able to fix that. It's going to be a terrible thing. Motiv till the Avdul Egel, and better that they should make the Egel. Extra happy with the Takanta with Shuvah, because maybe they'll have Takana they'll be able to fix it with Shuvah. So that's what the pasuk is. The Beitzeya Beirech, the Beitzeya is Aaron HaKohen who compromised with himself, Rashi explains. Niyetz Hashem, Hashem was not happy with that. It was the wrong cheshbon. Aaron should not have done the Egel for that.
So that's not how we learned that Aaron didn't do an Avera? I mean, Aaron doing an Avera or not?
There was a Taina on Aaron, yeah. He's got Nenash for it. Right?
So over here,
over here, Beitzeya Beirech, Niyetz Hashem. It's pasuk saying Niyetz Hashem. Hashem wasn't happy with Aaron HaKohen. So that's what Rav Tanchum Bar Chanilai is learning the pasuk. Zaktamar Vayter, V'hani Tanai, these Tanam who hold that you're allowed to go. They learned. We had a pasuk before, a pasuk in Mishlei. Hoiter Mayim Reishis Madai. We said that you could still do a pshara until you know which way the din is going. But once you know where the din is going, those Tanam over there before, the Brisa said you can't do it. But other Tanam argued, and they said even when you know which way the din is going, as long as it's not a Gemara din, like for example the Tanakama, you still could go and make a pshara. For Rak the Gemara, what do they do with that pasuk in Mishlei? Vahani Tanoi, and those Tanoim who don't hold that there's a problem with making up Shara as long as it's before the Gemara din, Paiter Mayim Reishis Madin Maidarshi, right? What do they learn with the pasuk Paiter Mayim Reishis Madin? If the Gemara could Rav Hamnuna, like Rav Hamnuna, Rav Hamnuna, and Tchilas Dina Shladam Nidain, a person's beginning of a person's din is only Elal Divrei Torah. When a person goes up to the Elam, they start off with Divrei Torah. Shneimar Paiter Mayim Reishis Madin. Paiter Mayim, it means the Paiter of Mayim. He pushed off the Torah from himself. Reishis Madin, that's going to be the beginning of his din in Asad Lavai. Right. Amar Rav Huna says, Hai Tigra, a fight, Dami L'Tzinura de Bidka de Maya. It's like a pipe of a stream of water. Sometimes when you have a stream of water and you could open up the drainage hole, then you could direct the water out and it won't overflow. But if you wait too long, even if you open it up, it's too late already. It's going to overflow all over the place. So Kivan the Ravach, a fight, once it starts, then it just gets bigger and bigger. He's being anti-fights. Abaye Kashisha Amar Abaye Kashisha says, Dami Laguda de Gamla. It's like the board of a bridge. Kivan de come. Once you stand on it. Yeah, but we find places. Thinking of Gemara in Gamla den Har Pras or something like that. Right. Over there it's talking about a bridge. It's a ford, like where you go over, and if the board is loose, it's loose, right? But when you step on it, it gets solid, right? So a fight is the same thing. Once you step into it, right, it gets solid and doesn't go away. So stay away from fights. And the Gemara says a bunch of simanim, shimi v'shtei sheva zmirus hu siman. Yehuda have a kamar va'azel. Okay, so 1 second. This Gemara is going to bring about 7 or 8 different sayings that people said, and it's going to bring that Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda. This the source of this. We see this in a pasuk. So here's the first one. Yehuda have a kamar v'azel. So there's somebody going and saying Tuvya deshama v'adish chafua b'shteimeya. Tuvya is a person that he heard in people making fun of him or being began at him. The adish, and he just let it go. He just didn't register it. Chafua b'shteimeya. His quietness, the baishas, the embarrassment that he took away 100 bad things ancient that he would have done. Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, Kruksiv, this is a pasuk. Poiter mayim reishis madain. The somebody who pushes away. Somebody who starts, like Petr Rechem or Petr Chamar, somebody who starts and gets involved with the fight, which we said is like water. We said it's like a Tsunera David Kedemaya, Reishis Madain. He's a Reish Meya Dini. He's going to start on himself 100 dinim. So that either we're learning as Lashon Atrikin, Reishis Madain, Reish Meya Dini, or Rashi brings down a pshat that says Madain is Gematria 100. So it's like if you're getting involved in a fight, you're getting 100 things on you. If you keep away from the fight, it's like you're pushing away 100 bad things, and that's what the Gemara said before. Next saying, Yehuda v'kamar v'azel. Somebody was saying, Artarti klas gan v'loy miktal. For 2 or 3 times, the ganav isn't going to get killed yet. So, but he's going to end up getting punished. So, but they don't come down so hard on him because it's only 2 or 3 times. But he's going to get punished for it. When he waits till the 4th time, look what's going to happen. So the same thing. Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, Kruksiv, it's a pasuk. Hashem said this. Ashloisha Pisha Yisrael, for 3 psham, 3 sins of Klal Yisrael. Okay, I let it go. But once they did the 4th one, I have to go and punish them for all 4. Yehuda have a kamar va'azel shev biri l'shalmana v'chadal avid besh. There was a person who was going and saying there are 7 baris, 7 pits that a whole person, a tzaddik, goes past and he doesn't fall in any of them. But you have v'chadal avid besh. Someone who's a rasha, someone who does bad things, he's going to fall at the first one. In other words, he's not going to miss the bad thing. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda Kruksiv. Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, it's a pasuk. He sheva yipol tzaddik become. A tzaddik will fall 7 times, but he'll get up. In other words, he won't get hurt. it. Then the end of the pasuk is not what it says in the parentheses. The end of the pasuk is Rishayim Yikash L'Baran. Rishayim will get stumble in their evil. In other words, because he's bad, even one of them will get him, and he'll get hurt in a single bar. Yehuda have a kamer of Azel. The Azel Mibeitina Shakol Glimei Lizmer Zamer V'Lezel Baruch. Somebody was going and saying the Azel Mibeitina, someone who leaves Bezdin and Shakol Glimei, they took his shirt off his back because they said you owe it to the other guy, so he has to take the shirt off his back and give it to the other guy. Lizmer Zamer V'Lezel Baruch. He should be happy, sing a song, and go on the road. Why? Because he had Gzela in his hand. It didn't belong to him, so he should be thrilled that he doesn't have Gzela in his hand anymore. So Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Rav Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, this is a pasuk. The pasuk says by Yisrael that all after the whole parsha with the dinim and the adding Dayanim, Sarai Lafim, Sarai Meis, it says, and everyone is going to go to their place b'shalom. What do you mean everyone's going to go to b'shalom? Yankel's going to be happy. Beryl's going to be sad because he lost it in Torah. The answer is no. Even Beryl should be happy because now the money that wasn't supposed to be his is not in his possession anymore. Somebody was going and saying, Hi naima vidikaila shvel. I think this is how you pronounce it. I think this is how you translate it. Hi naima, if she goes and shakes her stuff in her basket. In other words, a woman is shaking her needlework, her handiwork, and it makes a sound. I think that's what it means. Shvil, look down, go check it out. In other words, that just because someone makes noise doesn't mean that they're actually doing any work. They might be being lazy. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, Kraksev, it's a pasuk. With laziness, the wall will fall down. What does it mean the wall will fall down? A little thing that if you would fix right away, would you be able to fix it? But if you leave it and it gets bigger and bigger, and eventually the whole wall will fall down. Somebody was going and saying, the guy I trusted in, he punched me in the nose. He punched me. He used his fist and he hit me. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, Kraksev, this is a pasuk. Gam ish shleimi asher betachti by. The end of the pasuk is, it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Gam ish shleimi asher betachti by. The person who I was friends with and I trusted him, oichel me, and he ate my bread. He turned his heel on me. He turned his back to me. There's a zvitz that they say b'shem Ramesha. Somebody was once very upset at Ramesha about something. Yeah. So Ramesha said to somebody, I don't understand why he's so upset at me. I didn't do him any great favor. In other words, he was saying this Gemara. Sometimes you do someone a favor and they turn your back on you. What Ramesha was saying is a joke. I didn't do him any favor, so why is he so upset at me? Somebody was saying, when I loved my wife, Hava Aziza Apusin Safsira. It was Shchivan. It was enough space to lay on the edge of a knife, the edge of a sword. There was enough, in other words, we were able to fit together on the edge of a sword. We didn't need much space. Now that our love is not so strong, a bed that's 60 garmidi wide is still not big enough for us. This concept is a psukim. And it talks about the connection of Hashem with Klal Yisrael and how the further Hashem got from Klal Yisrael, the more space was necessary, metaphorically. In the beginning it says, by after Yetzias Mitzrayim, by the Mishkan, I will meet you over there, and I'll speak to you, Moshe Rabbeinu, Me'al HaKaparis, from the top of the Kaparis. How big is the Kaparis? Matanya, we learned in the Raisa, Aron Tisha, the Aron was 9 Tvachim tall, the Kaparis, Tefach, the Kaparis was another Tefach on top of that. Reikan Asara, that's 10 Tvachim. But it says afterwards, by the way, Samigdash, when Hashem was not as close to Klal Yisrael, the house that Shlomo Melech built for Hashem, Shishim Amarkai, was 60 amas tall, 60 amas long, Esrim Rachbei 20 wide, Shleshim Amakamasai, and 30 amas tall. So much bigger space. And all the way at the end it says, Hashem, this is what Hashem says, Hashemayim Kisi, Ba'aretz Hatayim Ragli, the heaven is my seat, and the land is my footstool. What bias can you pick from? Now, there's no bias is big enough. So you see that when there's not as much love as before, you need a lot more space. We said on the bottom of Vav and Beis, the Gemara is going back, that how do you know that Rabbi Shimon Karcha says, how do you know the Talmud is sitting in front of his Rebbe, he shouldn't hold back, he shouldn't be koines his words, he shouldn't hold back his words to himself, he should say them out if his Rebbe is missing his chus or a chiyuv for somebody. The Gemara says, Rav Nachman of Amakra, the pasuk says, Rav Nachman says, the pasuk says, and the Gemara is going to bring 3 or 4 different psukim that use lashon of lasherish of gimel reish as a lashon of gathering. One is the yain le'tishtav le'segar, wine you won't drink and you won't gather it, you won't store it. So that's a pasuk by the Klaus. So you see that gathering is from lashon of gimel reish. Rav Achbar Yaakov Amar Mihachav Rav Yaakov from this pasuk, Tachim b'kayit lachma, it prepared in the summer its bread, Agra b'katzer machala, and stored in the harvest. So you see that's the time of katzer is kinos. When you harvest, you gather everything in. It stored its food. Somebody who gathers in the summer is a smart son. Okay. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rav Yonasan. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani said the name Rav Yonasan. Called Dayan Shadan Din Emes. That's the Emes from the Simon. A Dayan who judges a true din. Emes Lamita, a real true din. Masher Shechina B'Yisrael. He causes the Shechina to be Shaira and Klal Yisrael. Shnemar Alikim Nitza B'Adas Kel. The Rebbeinu Shalom stands when you have a group of Adas Kel of gathering for Hashem. B'Kerev Alihim Mishpat, amongst the gathering of Dayanim for Mishpat, for judgment. And a dayan that does not judge a din emes lamita, which is a terrible thing. It causes that the Shechina, it removes itself from Klal Yisrael. Like the pasuk said, from the plundering of poor people and the pain of poverty-stricken people, ata akum, I will go away from, I will stand up from, means I'm going to take away myself. Yomer Hashem, Hashem says. So you see that Hashem is going to take himself away from Klal Yisrael when a dayan does not do judge emes din, and the aniyim who should be getting the truth, the dayan gives favoritism to the ashirim, and the ani is left in the cold. Sagt mal weiter. Amar Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonasan, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani said the name Rav Yonasan. The dayan who takes money from one person and gives it to another improperly, against the din. In other words, it says to Yankel you have to pay barrel, but really Yankel does not have to pay barrel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes him by taking his nefesh. It's a big punishment. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, Al tigzal dal kidalhu. Don't steal from a poor person, he's poor. And don't crush a poor person. Bishar is where the Bezdin was, by the gate of the city is where Bezdin was. So don't crush a poor person by the Bezdin, by doing a false dayanis, a false judgment. Hashem Yarav Rivam, Hashem will fight their fight, and will take back from the people who take from them nefesh, their soul, and Hashem is going to kill the person who's a dayan that doesn't judge true at the mishpat. A dayan should see himself as if there's a sword between his legs that he's going to fall down on. And not only that, under that, this Gehenna is open up under him. Yeah, Shenemar, like the pasuk says, here's the mita of Shlomo. Shlomo was close with Rabbeinu Shlomo. Shishim Gibarim Savla. You have the 60 Gibarim. Gibarim over here is talking about Talmidei Chacham around it. Gibarim Yisrael from the mighty Talmidei Chachamim of Klal Yisrael. They're holding a sword and they know the Malcham Shal Torah. Each one has his sword by his legs. From the fear of the night. From the pachad of Gehenim that's similar to that's compared to the night, and therefore, and that's how a dayan has to see himself to be careful not to do the incorrect din. There is Rabbi Yashia B'Tema Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Rabbi Yashia, some say Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says there's a gersa on the side of Rabbi Shmuel Menachmeni, not Rav Yitzchak. Ma'adik says based on Koyam Hashem. Pasuk says in Tehillim. No, I'm sorry. Pasuk in Yirmiyah. Take it back. Pasuk in Yirmiyah. Based David, the house of David. Koyam Hashem. This is what Hashem says. Dinu labayker mishpat. Judge to the morning the judgment. Ma'atzilu gazlam yadayshik, and save what's stolen from the person who's stealing it. You only judge in the morning. You don't judge the rest of the day. Of course, you judge the whole day. What does it mean? If you're sure in the psak, it's as clear as day, like you say in the expression, then say it. And if not, don't say it. Rabbi Chiba Rabbi Amar Rabbi Yonasan, or the Zgir son of Rabbi Yechanan, he said it from over here. Amar l'chachma chaysiyat. Say to Chachma that you are my sister. In Bar l'cha davar ka'chayscha she'asur lach. If it's as clear to you as your sister who is asur to you, the psak is that clear to you, you know that's said. Amreyu say it. Al tamreyu. And if not, don't say it. Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi. Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Asara she'yeshvim b'din. If you have 10 people who are sitting in judgment. 10 dayanim, yeah. And it's lav dafka because we said that we don't have 10 dayanim. You have to always have an uneven number. But still, there's like a collar around them. A collar is when they would put somebody to jail or to misa from the king, they'd put him in a collar. It's Yuluba collar, the Gemara says. So they have this judgment, this punishment hovering over them in case they do the din Torah wrong. That's Pashat. No, you don't need to say this about the Asara Dayanim. You don't need to say this about the Dayanim. We're talking about the Talmud Yeshiv Fnei Rabbi. The Talmud who sits in front of his Rebbe, he has to realize that he also is responsible, and he should be saying, if he sees something wrong, he has to pipe up and say it. Rav Huna had a din in front of him. He'd bring 10 rabbanim from the yeshiva and have them sit in front of him. Amri said, they were not the dayanim, but he'd have them sit over there watching the proceedings. He said, so it should be like a splinter from the beam. What does this mean? If it was just me saying the halacha wrong, I'm going to get the whole einish. But if I have 10 other people there, the einish will be split 11 different ways, so it'll be not as big of an einish. But it's more than this, really. He wasn't saying I don't want as much einish. Presumably, he was saying I'm going to have 10 other to be the chacham there. It's a lot less likely there's got to be a mistake, and therefore I don't have to worry as much. Rav Ashi when Rav Ashi, they brought a shaila of a treifa in front of him. He would gather all the butchers who had to do the halachas of treifas. He would gather them all, and Amri said the same thing. It should be like a splinter from the whole beam. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael, he said, Darish Rav Nachman Bar Kohen. Rav Nachman Bar Kohen said, what does the pasuk mean? Melech b'mishpat yamed eretz. A king with mishpat will stand up the land. Vish trumas yarasena, and a man of trumas will destroy it. What does this mean? Im dayin daim melech b'mishpat. So the dayin is like the mishpat is like a melech. The dayin is time to melech she'ena tzarech l'klum. He doesn't need other people to guide him. He knows what he's doing. He knows the halacha yamed eretz. He's going to stand the world up. That'll be emes adin, and it'll be good for the world. In dayin l'kayin is truma. So truma is a kayin, right? The person who gets truma is a kayin. So the dayin l'kayin, but if he's like a kayin, he has to always ask, what's the halacha over here? What's the halacha over here? What's this pshat? What's this psak? Then your son is going to destroy it. He doesn't know the Torah well enough to be a dayin. He should not judge. The Bein Nasiya, Gemara says a story. The Bein Nasiya, the house of the Nasi, they put up a dayan who wasn't Talmud Chacham. So people said to Yehuda bar Nachmani, Meturgamani de Reish Lakish, the Meturgaman of Reish Lakish, go be this guy's Meturgaman, this dayan who wasn't such a good Tana. Come Gachna, so he got up and he leaned over to him to listen to what he had to say. But this dayan had nothing to say. So finally finally, Yehuda Bar Nachmani, Pasach Lamar, he started and saying himself. He was talking about, he was being Merames on this night. Hay Aimer Le'etz Hakitza. Ho, you say to a piece of wood, get up. Uri Le'evan Doimen. You awaken, you a solid stone, quiet stone. It'll teach. It's grabbing gold and silver, but has no ruach inside it. What's going on? It means you're saying that if you have a dayan who doesn't have any zich, he doesn't have any the kishkus of Torah inside him, then it's like a stone. He has nothing to say, and you can't listen to him. And not only that, Hashem is going to collect from the person who puts them up as a dayan. In other words, the Beit Messiah, right? Shenemar, because the pasuk says further on, Hashem beheichal kadshay. Hashem is beheichal kadshay. Yehas b'panav kol haaretz. Hashem is in His heichal kadshay, and has to be quiet before him because of this Aveira, Kol Haaretz, he'll destroy the land. So this is a very bad thing that you have a dayan who is not right to stand up. Amrei Shlakish says, somebody who puts up a dayan that's not proper, it's like he's planting an Asherah, a Avodah tree in Klal Yisrael. Remember the pasuk says, you should make judges for yourself. And very near that, we say the pasuk, you should not plant yourself an Asherah. So you see, having a bad dayan is like planting an Asherah. And if it's a place where there are Talmidei Chachamim, so it's one thing if you make a dayan who's not right in a place where there's no one else. But if you did worse, there were Talmidei Chachamim in that city, and you made a dayan chain a hagam dayan anyway, that's even worse. It's like you planted this Asherah next to the Mizbeach, which is a big chutzpah. Shneimar, the pasuk says, the end of the pasuk, l'simul chasher plates, Eitzel Mizbeach Hashem L'kecha, next to Mizbeach of Hashem. The Talmidei Chachamim are like Mizbeach, because that's where all the Torah comes from. And they give, Rashi says they're mechaper, and they protect like the Mizbeach, so it's a much worse Avera. It says, you shouldn't make with me, the pasuk says, you can't make away the zaros of gold and silver. What the pasuk is saying, you can't make a gold or a silver avodah zarah, you can make a wooden one? What's the pasuk saying? Ravashi is saying no. It's talking about not a avodah zarah. Elohim, we said that Elohim is a lashon of dayan. He's a sar, he's a srera. So you make a dayan because of gold or silver. Basically, you do it for monetary reasons because if he's not actually ready for it, that is like making a avodah zarah. Zaktamar Vaika. Rav Kev Asal Beidina. Yep. Rav Kev Asal Beidina. When Rav would go to the Bezdin, Amar Hachi said to the following: R'us nafshei l'ktal nafech. With the ratzon of himself. In other words, he's willingly going to Misa. He's talking about himself. He's basically saying, I'm sacrificing my life here. Because it's a dangerous thing to be a dayan. Because you might say the wrong psak. And we said all these gemaras that say what happens if a dayan says the wrong psak. Vitzavi be'isei lesu aben.
Reis nafshei means what?
Reis means a lashon of ratzon. Like Yehi Rava Kadamach, the same sherish. It's Yehi Ratzon Lofanecha. Okay, so he said, with the ratzon of himself and his own willingness, he's going to sacrifice himself to death. And he's not doing any the ratzon of his the needs of his house. He has no benefit from this. And he's leaving, and he's going to come back to his house empty-handed. He's not making any money. And a Levi, when he comes back, he's again still talking about himself. He should come back to his house like when he left. Just like when he left, he didn't have Averus. Halvai, he should come back with that Averus also, that he shouldn't judge falsely. Now, once we're talking about Rav and different things he said, we say another thing. We have a Chazia and Bua Basra. When Rav saw that there was a whole, Rav was Rav, right? Rav was a very chashuv person, and people would gather around him and follow him in the street. He would have like a entourage. That's what the word is. He'd have an entourage around him.
Hamarazi.
Yeah. So when he saw that, he didn't want to become a Baal Gai, but he said, Amr, he said like this: if his Seyai is like his entourage, if his people encircle him. So if it'll go to Shemaim, we'll have that much of entourage of people around him. Like Glala is schmutz from animal excrement. The Netzach Yeved will forever be lost. In other words, a person has to be an Anav because the person's not, this doesn't make him great. Marzutra Chasidim have him chasvei b'Shabbat de Regla. They would carry him on the Shabbos of Regel when they had the big shiurim at Halach Sayantif. They would carry him on their shoulders. The Shamashim would carry him on the shoulders they would have matriach the tzibura if he went in regularly, because it took a long time to go and he was old and slow, and therefore everyone would have to stand up in front of him. It would be a big tircha, so they'd carry him on their shoulders and bring him up to the front very quickly. So, but it's a gaiva rush, right? It's a power rush. You walk in and everyone stands up, it makes a difference. If you feel it somewhere. Even Marzutra Chasida felt it. So this is what he said. Amar Hachi, he said like this: it won't protect you forever. Will the crown go from generation to generation? In other words, this is covered, that's chayla. If it goes away, don't let it get to your head. Darsh Bakapara Darshan. No, Nosudam Rabbanan have him misunim bedin. How do you know this thing that the Rabbanan said? Be patient in din. Don't judge quickly. It's the Mishnah and Avos. The pasuk says, "Leisal b'mailis." Don't go. The pasuk is the end of Yisro. Don't go on steps up to the mizbeach. You have to make a ramp. And then it says, "And these are the mishpatim." This is how you do judgment. But the Gemara is darshaning, "Leisal b'mailis." Don't go quickly. Don't go with strength. Don't go on with milas. It means with Jesus.
Steps.
Right, but it means don't go quickly. Don't run up those steps. So don't go quickly to bishpatim, to judge. In other words, take your time. Have a masunim b'din. Zaktamar vayter. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, how do you know a dayan shouldn't step on the heads of the people? This does not literally mean. Right here. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, how do you know how do you know that the dayan shouldn't stand on the heads of the Am Kodesh, the holy people? This does not literally mean stand on their heads. It means that people would be sitting and reclining, and then when you walk in, then everyone would still be sitting, and you're like walking over them, and like it's not respectful. But don't forget, in those days they would recline. It wasn't like now when you're sitting up. That's right. So it was like you're walking and everyone else is lying down almost. Shnema, like the pasuk says, "Leisal b'malis." Don't go with milas with the strength. The same thing as Jesus, like we said before. And then it says these are how the diyanim are should be nayig. So you see that you have to have covered for the people around you. Pasuk says, now we're talking about Ve'elam Mashpatim, so it's actually in the Pasuk Ve'elam Mashpatim. It says, Asher Tasim Lefneihem. Right, you put the dinim in front of them. In fact, the Gemara, Asher Talamdim Yibayilei, should say, these are the Mashpatim, you should teach them. What's Tasim? You place them. Rabbi Yirmi of Yitem Rabbi Chiya Barabba, Rabbi Yirmi of Rabbi Chiya Barabba said, Elu Klei Adayanim. These are the Kalim of the Yanim. Tasim is something you put down, something that's movable. A pen is something that you could place down in front of you. That's Tasim. Right? What's the Klei Adayanim? Let's see the next Gemara. Rav Huda have enough of Ladina when he would go to do a judgment. Amar Hachi, he said it like this: Afikuli mani chanasai. Take out the kalim from my store. He was being facetious a little, but what are those kalim? Makal, a stick for makas mardas, urutzua, a strap for malchus, v'shofra, a shofar for nido yecherim, v'sandla, a sandal for chalitza. Right? So he said, these are the kalim I need. So that's what it says. Elam mishpatim asher tasim lefneihem. The pasuk says, "Vatzava shavteichem beisahi." I commanded your shoftim, your judges, at that time. What does it mean? Vatzava. Tzava is lashon of strength. Also, Rashi says it's a lashon of zeros.
Not commanding.
What? And that's what it literally means. But the Rashi brings down a Gemara in Kedushin that says, "Kol tzav is kol makush nemer tzav ene ela lashon zeros." So, what was the zeros? What's vatzav shavteichem beisahi? Amar Avrechanan k'neged ma. What? Right. It means command, yes, but it also means lashon of zeros. Tzav Yeshuas Yaakov, we say. So the Gemara says, "Makal rotzuah teis." Rabbi Yechon says, "Connected makal rotzuah teizaris." Bizarre is to have that stick and the strap for Makas Mardas and Malkas, because sometimes you're going to need it, and you have to be able to teach the people what to do and what not to do, and they might need Einshin for that. Zakta Gemara, Shemaya ben Achechem Ushvattem. The pasuk says you should listen between your brothers and judge. Amar Rab Chanina says, "As hara lebezdin shlo yishma divrei baldin kadim sheyave baldin chaveroi." It's two things. One is as hara that a bezdin shouldn't listen to one baldin before he hears the other baldin. I can come into bezdin. I'm so upset at Yankel. He did this and he did this and he did this, and Yankel's not standing there to rebut me because he's not there. I'm the only one there, and now bezdin is going to have a bias in their mind because they heard me without hearing Yankel's other side of the story.
It's funny. I had a shadow and went to a feed the said, don't tell me anything. You know?
Right. Well, it's good to see the Gemara right here. So how do you learn that from the pasuk? Shemaya bein achechem. It says, listen to the judgment. Right. The pasuk says, shvatem, you'll judge. So Shemaya bein achechem, when you're amongst your brothers. In other words, when both of them are there.
Not alone.
Not one. And it's also a warning to the Baldin. Not only can the Dayan not listen, the Baldin is not allowed to say it. Because Karibinami Shema ben Achechem. We also could read it with the like Yeshem the Mesiris, the Mikra. Make heard amongst your brothers. In other words, you, the Baldin, cannot make heard what you want to say unless you're bein achechem, unless your other Baldin is with you also. Rav Kana says from the pasuk over here, it says Loisisa Shem Hashav. You're not allowed to say false testimony, right? Loisasi, also you could darshan it. Loisasi means that Loisisa means the bezdin shouldn't be makabel the false witness, but also Loisasi is you shouldn't place the false witness. You, the Baldin, shouldn't say something that's not true. Pasuk says, "Ushvatem tzedek." You should shmei bein achechem ushvatem tzedek. You should judge with tzedek, with tzidkas. Reish Lakish says, "Tzedek is adin, v'achkach atcheu." First, figure out the din properly, and then paskin. Don't go and paskin without thinking it through well. First think through the din well, and then you can go paskin.
You don't split it in half?
No, chatcheu is also lashon of psak, right? Like we say, the Rebbeinu Shalom is chayte chayim l'chol chay, right? On Yom Kippur, right? Bein ishu bein achiv, pasuk says he's going to be shvat and tzedek bein ishu bein achiv, between a man and his friend. Rabbi Yehuda says this tells us afil bein bayis la'aliyah. There has to be fear even between a person who has a bias and another person who has a lien. In other words, let's say you have two brothers and they're arguing about a drusha. And one has a bias, the father left over a house and a first floor and a second floor. So you say, look, he's got a place to live, he can live in the bias, he can live in the aliyah, who cares? It's going to be more tircha for one of them, or maybe the aliyah is worth less, maybe it's not, it doesn't matter, who cares, they're both good. No, don't do that. You have to go on cheshbon out. How much is it worth living in the bias? How much is worth living in the aliyah? If it turns out that the bias is more, well, the guy who gets the bias, he has to pay another couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000, the person with the aliyah, to make it fair. And then the pasuk continues, "Vein Geiroi, Rav Yehuda afil ben tanur crime." Vein Geiroi, Rav Yehuda is darshaning from lashon of gar, the things you use to live. So he says the same svara between a tanur and a kirayim. You have two stoves. A tanur is more expensive than a kirayim. So don't say he got the tanur, he got the kirayim. Perfect, it's all fair. No, it's not fair. He got the $15,000 Viking range with 6 burners, and he got the I don't know, the
barbecue grill.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. Right? They both could cook? No, it's not fair. You have to make it fair. Lesakiru panim b'mishpat. The pasuk says you should not be makir panim by mishpat. The pasuk is, yeah, the Gemara is going to say two pshatim over here. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lesakirehu. Rabbi Yehuda says don't recognize the person who you are closer with. Right. Rabbi Lazar Amar leisanachrehu. Don't make him a nachri. The person who you're not happy with, the person who you don't like, don't say we'll make him lose. The host, the place where, and it's not clear to me if Rav actually lived there at that time, or he was the place where Rav is landlord, where he was before at a different time, also earlier. Right. So Amar Lai, he said to him, Lavash B'zichniat, aren't you my landlord? I'm sorry.
You're my tenant.
That would not be considered enough of
am I not your specific? This is not Rav talking. This is the Baldin talking. Am I not your host? Your landlord? He said yes, I am. Rav said I am. I'm late dinasly. The guy said I got a Torah I need to bring in front of you. I'm late. Hasil malach ladina. You passed me for din because you reminded me that I owe you one. Amrle Rav Kana. So Rav said to Rav Kana, "Puk daine, go judge him because Rav Kana had no connection to him. So Rav Kana could judge him fairly." Chazin to have a kagaz pay. So Rav Kana saw that he was very relying on his relationship with Rav. He was like name dropping. Right? Like you go into a place and you say, "Oh, my uncle's the chaplain over here in the police station," right? You know. So Amar Lei, the Rav Kana said to this Baldin, "Itzaisis, tzaisis. If you listen, good. You listen. It's okay. But if not, Rav is going to kick you out from your strength over here. In other words, he's saying, I'm going to put you in Chayrim, and Rav is not going to help you any. The fact that you have a relationship with Rav. So don't mess. Okay? Okay. That's it for the Zion. Shkayach B'ez Hashem tomorrow. First night of Chanukah. Are you around?